I'm Matt Donnelly, and this is Fantasy Football Quick Hits. And if you want a quick hit and value at a position, how about Trevor Lawrence at the quarterback position? We're going to be talking about that later because we're talking about my favorite fantasy football values at every position. Let me be clear when I say value. I'm not necessarily looking for the best quarterback, the best running back, the best tight end, or even the best wide receiver. I'm looking for the guys where I look at their current ADP and think, wait, we're getting that guy this late? Because fantasy football isn't about drafting the players who score the most points, not necessarily at least. It's about drafting players who score more points than the players being drafted around them. That's where the value comes in. That's what we want. That's why we're targeting these four players. And we already mentioned the quarterback, Trevor Lawrence, ADP 92, somewhere around that QB 10 range. And honestly, if you would have told me about a year ago that I'd be sitting here right now telling you Trevor Lawrence is one of my favorite fantasy values, I would have told you to probably slap me because I've probably been a little too much at this point. Now, we're here, and this is where we're at. And then, hey, who am I to judge? Lawrence looked like one of the best quarterbacks in football down the stretch last season. Over the final 10 weeks of the 2025 season, Lawrence ranked first in points per game at 23.5. First, not Josh Allen, not Lamar Jackson, not anybody. I mean, we're talking about Trevor Lawrence here. And yes, he has that rushing upside. Believe it or not, he is a Konami cheat code. He doesn't look like it, but he happens to be one. I mean, he runs like a draft, but every yard matters, right? Now, Lawrence, he scored 9 rushing touchdowns last season, including 7 over those final 10 weeks. What I am expecting is a quarterback who is much more comfortable in this offense and a quarterback who doesn't have Travis Etienne to lean on here. I don't know why I keep bringing up his name. I can never pronounce it properly. It's Etienne. Sorry, I said what I had to say. Now, going back to the whole thing, Liam Cohen's offense, it really started to click, and Trevor Lawrence had a good understanding of what Cohen wanted to do. The Jaguars ranked 6th in points scored under Cohen, and Lawrence looked like a completely different player once things were simplified for him. I mean, we talk about that week 10 moment there when Cohen essentially told him, let it rip, kid, and Lawrence did exactly that. That's the version of Lawrence I want. Now, there are concerns. We know that offensive line isn't exactly helping with any cat. You're not putting that offensive line on your vision board. It's not going to happen. You're not going to be like, hey, this is a top 5 unit. No, it is not. And Lawrence is probably going to need some help with some rushing production somewhere along the way. But this offense it's ascending. I mean, you've got a full year now of Jacoby Myers. Brian Thomas, he's looked good. Go back 2 seasons ago, Brian Thomas was absolutely fantastic. I mean, that was with Mac Jones, but still fantastic. Parker Washington has generated all kinds of buzz. And we got Cohen basically designing plays for other wide receivers because that connection between Lawrence and Parker Washington is legit. Now, Brenton Strange, he just got extended, and even Travis Hunter, he should contribute to in some capacity. I mean, there was a stretch last season which Travis Hunter was one of the best wide receivers in the game. There's also the fact that, you know what, there was a lot of drop balls in this Jaguars offense. Lawrence had the second highest drop percentage in the league at 8.6%, and that added up to about 397 dropped yards. And we're not talking about Lawrence just going out there and throwing ducks. That's fantasy points that are sitting on the ground, just laying there for anyone to have. Well, obviously not anybody because it's mute at that point. At QB 10, I don't need Lawrence to become Josh Allen. I just need him to continue being a quarterback that we saw in the second half of last season. Is that too much to ask? I just need him to continue being the quarterback that has a very realistic opportunity to do great things. We're talking about one of the best in Jaguars history. Franchise records. Lawrence is on the record watch here. 98 passing touchdowns. That is 3rd in Jaguars history. He needs 5 more to reach Blake Bortles for 2nd. Mark Brunell, he holds the record at 144. I mean, he's not going to get there this season, I don't think. And he needs 2 more rushing touchdowns to move into a tie with Travis Etienne for the 4th at 25. Now, speaking of running backs, how about some Javonte Williams for you? I mean, now you're getting to one of my favorite players in all of football. If you've listened to me for any period of time, you know that I've been on Javonte Williams since day one. Now, there were some dark moments there. There's some times where I was really questioning my conviction here. But if I'm being honest here, after that devastating knee injury in 2022 and that sluggish return in 2023 and 2024, I wasn't exactly pounding the table for Javonte as much as I was maybe last season. I'm like, every year is the year, right? That's kind of what we told ourselves. And then he went out and reminded everybody, oh yeah, this guy, he can play football well. He can do what he needs to do. Williams had 287 touches in 16 games last season. That's 18 touches a game or close to that. And here's the part that I really like. There's not a whole lot of competition for that workload. This is a potentially ascending Cowboys offense, and Williams could once again be the guy getting the overwhelming majority of the backfield touches. I mean, we projected him for about 250 carries, but I wouldn't be shocked if he pushes 275, probably even 300 total touches when it's all said and done. I mean, are you worried about Jaden Blue? Because quite frankly, I'm not. The receiving work, it's not spectacular, but we're still projecting him around 35, 36 receptions, which puts him on the outside of elite receiving back range. But here's the thing. Javonte averaged 50 receptions per season in 2023 and 2024. So a 40-plus catch season isn't exactly some kind of crazy prediction. And training camp reports, they've been encouraging. He's looked physically improved from what we've seen in past years. He's reportedly stepping up as a leader. And I think that we're starting to see that post-injury Javonte, who still has enough juice to make this all work. And around pick number 38 overall, I'm not saying that Javonte's a steal, but with the running backs flying off the board, you're sitting around the 3-4 turn, and you need an RB2. And the way the running backs have been going down due to injury, Breece Hall, Jeremiah Love, I mean, Javonte Williams is looking pretty darn good. And I'm perfectly comfortable taking him there, knowing that Dallas is probably going to give him 275 carries. Now, up next, I've got one of my favorite wide receiver values and a tight end who I think could completely wreck his current ADP. I'll admit, I wasn't quite there at the beginning of the season, but I've been coming around on DJ Moore as of late. We're talking about one of those players where the fantasy community seems to have collectively decided that, yeah, he's fine, or no, I'm not buying it. I mean, I get it. He's 29 years old. He's not 39, though, and he's been dealing with some pretty questionable quarterback situations throughout his career. Carolina, Chicago. I mean, let's just say that Moore hasn't been catching passes from a collection of Hall of Famers here. Now he's going to Buffalo, and he's going from Caleb Williams to Josh Allen. And you know what? For fantasy, people are like, oh, Caleb Williams. Well, you know what? This is what we call a fantasy business call, an upgrade. Last season, say what you want. I mean, you could go ahead and bang that drum for Williams, but he ranked 40th in catchable throw rate at 69.4%. Allen, he was 4th at 79.1%. That's a big difference. And Moore has a familiarity there with Bills head coach Joe Brady. Brady was Moore's offensive coordinator in Carolina in 2020 and 2021. And I think that's important because Moore's talent has never been the question. It has been the opportunity. Last year, he ranked just 37th in target share, 69th in targets per route run among 76 wide receivers with at least 50 targets. That's not exactly how you maximize DJ Moore. Now, the good news, I don't think Buffalo brought him in just to have him disappear. Like, think about these wide receivers that Buffalo has brought in to help Josh Allen. I mean, we had Stephon Diggs there. So Moore is basically ranked 9th in design target share at 17.1% last season. And he has been a very good touchdown producer throughout his career. He has 27 touchdowns over the last 4 years with an impressive 8.79% touchdown rate on his catches. Buffalo did only throw 460 passes last season, and Allen's attempts have declined in 3 straight years. But the expectation is that this offense becomes a little more pass heavy. And if that happens, I think Moore has a legitimate shot here to finish as a wide receiver 2, considering he's being drafted as a wide receiver 3. And apparently the training camp vibes, they're all good. He reportedly looks slimmer, faster, motivated. And I'm always a little bit suspicious when a player shows up to camp looking like he just discovered vegetables again. But hey, I'll take it. DJ Moore, he's one of my favorite wide receiver values. And to close it all out, we're going to go to the tight end position, and we're going to look at Sam LaPorta. Now, he did go down here the last couple of days with a injury of sorts. As long as it's not that back that he had operated on or a hamstring injury, I'm okay with everything. So let's talk about him and why the fantasy community may be sleeping on Sam LaPorta just a little bit. And it comes down to that availability. He's dealt with these injuries over the last couple seasons, and obviously that has hurt his production. But when he's healthy and actually running routes, this guy is still an elite fantasy producer. He's one of those guys, a stat chain mover, whatever you want to call it there. In 18 career games where LaPorta had a 75% or higher route share, he averaged 15.9 fantasy points per game. That would be good enough for tight end 2 in fantasy points per game last season. That's the player that we're talking about here. And the Detroit offense gives him a pretty clear path to targets once more. When LaPorta was inactive last season, Jameson Williams averaged 7 targets, nearly 80 receiving yards, 15 fantasy points per game. And when LaPorta was active, all that production dropped for Jameson Williams. We're talking about 4.8 targets, 52.7 yards per game, just under 11 fantasy points per game. That is significant. LaPorta doesn't need to be the only hog there for targets in Detroit. He just needs to be involved. Among tight ends with at least 200 routes last season, LaPorta ranked top 2 in yards per target, yards per route run, yards after the catch per reception, not just a player whose talent has suddenly disappeared. Detroit, they've lost some pieces on defense, and they've lost David Montgomery in the backfield. That's going to change that game script a little bit for the Lions altogether. That could mean more passing volume, and LaPorta should be the clear third option in the passing game, and there's room for touchdown regression in his favor. His touchdown rate has dropped from 7.5% last year, from sitting from, I think it was about 11.6% in 2023, 2024. The big concern, it's that offensive line. There's some legitimate questions there, but Vegas, hey, they've got Detroit projected to score third most points in the league. So I'm going to take that heavy offense there, which has all kinds of fantasy goodness implicated, and I'm going to put my money and push those chips in on Sam LaPorta. And at an ADP of 91, LaPorta has a legitimate chance to be one of the biggest values at the tight end position. So there you have it. My favorite value targets at every position: quarterback Trevor Lawrence, running back Javonte Williams, wide receiver DJ Moore, and a tight end Sam LaPorta. And remember, we're not necessarily saying these guys are going to finish as the best players at their position. We're saying their current ADP. This is an absolute smash opportunity for each one of these guys. And every year, I'm hunting for that value. Sometimes I'm right, sometimes I'm wrong, but that's fantasy football. I'm Matt Donnelly, and this has been Fantasy Football Quick Hits. The time to lock on is now.